Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Shakur. Okay, so I just wanted to give you all this brief update, but please make sure that you tune in later today at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because we're going to be talking about Carmelo and what happened in court. And I have a guest that's going to be tuning in or joining, and she was right there for all of the drama. So we're going to get the details, firsthand accounts. Okay, but let's talk about it because I'm sorry, but Nolan's frenemies, well, they're talking about suing Reverend Al Sharpton for defamation. Now, we know that they mentioned this before. They were talking about suing him and Ben Crump, but now it looks like they've set their sights on Al Sharpton. Okay, this was just reported just a few hours ago. So listen, this is breaking news. So listen, three friends who were with Nolan Xavier Wells before he died on Horn Island plan to sue the Reverend Al Sharpton for defamation. Their attorneys notified the civil rights activist and Baptist minister in an intent to sue letter filed Friday, but gave him time to retract and delete every false and defamatory statement about them, including but not limited to those specifically identified in the letter. Well, I would like to see what that is because when did Al Sharpton defame them? When did he accuse them directly of anything? I mean, I absolutely don't recall. But anyway, they say Mississippi attorney Tyler Cox represents the three friends, Warren Hudson, Jax Patello, and Morgan Seymour, along with high-profile defamation and media law attorney Edward Andrew Paltzik. Now, in the intent to sue letter, the attorneys allege that Sharpton defamed the trio during a July 14th interview with TMZ and in other remarks that he made in the aftermath of the 18-year-old student athlete's death. Well, I must have clearly missed that because, like I said, I didn't hear Al say anything that was the least bit defamatory. So anyway, the claim included alleged defamatory remarks made during the convention for the National Association of Black Journalists and other remarks during a virtual prayer vigil on the National Action Network on August the 19th, the day of Wells's 19th birthday. Honey, they must be extra mad, okay? They're coming after anybody they can. Clearly desperate, mind you. Now, during the TMZ interview, Sharpton questioned the circumstances surrounding Wells's death and accused the three friends of potential wrongdoing. Well, I'm sorry, but there is potential wrongdoing. First of all, they were drinking alcohol and they're underage, okay? So that's one potential wrongdoing. And whoever was manning the boat, was it Wyatt? Clearly had been drinking according to Warren. So I'm sorry. Where's the defamation again? Listen, I just think that they are mad, upset, butthurt, and bent out of shape because Christine Wansley has filed subpoenas for Ward Marine Services as well as CETO, and they already know it's about to go down. The cover is blown, the jig is up, and all the truth is about to be exposed, and they know it. So now they're fighting and clawing and scratching, okay, grabbing at anything that they can to cling to try to deflect from what they know is coming down the pike. Okay, please. Pay attention. Now, Sharpton discussed Wells' cell phone, which was retrieved from the friends after they returned from Horn Island without Wells. He said the phone's photos and text messages had been erased. All of his photos, text messages, everything on the phone had been erased, Sharpton said. He questioned why Wells was missing without his cell phone and said there were too many unanswered questions surrounding the case. Well, I have to absolutely agree. Where's the lie? One, he's missing without a cell phone. Two, you lie about whether or not you had the cell phone and Nolan's keys. And three, everything is erased from the cell phone. That's too many unanswered questions for us not to say that something is amiss here. I absolutely agree. I'm sorry. Why are they mad? Oh, we know why. In addition, the attorneys pointed to additional remarks from Sharpton, including, I was first of all stunned at the fact that this young man is going out, he and three friends. He's black, they white, and a day later his mother and them start searching for him. No one comes forward. And then they find out after 2 days that they claim his body was washed up and that they had given his cell phone and his keys to one of the three friends, saying he didn't want to go back from Horn Island with them. Have they brought these three young men, in for questioning under oath? I mean, clearly he's asking questions, and what's wrong with that? Honey, these people are so desperate. They are trying to play hardball, okay? This is what it sounds like. It's given desperation. Now, the attorneys pointed out those statements and others identified that the three young men that he was referring to in his remarks were Hudson, Patalo, and Seymour, saying you falsely accused these three completely innocent young men of extremely serious wrongdoing that constitutes multiple felonies under Mississippi law, including but not limited to murder, hindering prosecution in the first degree, and tampering with physical evidence. This is what they said in the letter, honey. When did he say anything about murder? And I find it so interesting because for people who are supposed to be so innocent and for people who think there's nothing to see here, folks, and it was all about there's no evidence of foul play and it's all about an accidental drowning. Why do they keep bringing up red rum, i.e., murder? Do you all notice that they're the ones that keep saying that? And they're also, by the way, the ones who keep bringing up race, especially Rage Batum, Tap Dancing Tatum. Now, they go on to say there can be no doubt that you were intentionally referring to Warren, Jax, and Morgan as evidenced by your multiple references to Nolan's three friends. Your remarks, according to the attorney, were intended to accuse them of infamous crimes, publicly claim them as criminal, identify them as enemies, endanger them, and subject them to threats, ridicule, and scorn. Ooh, honey, are they mad or what? I mean, they didn't go this hard in on Nancy Grace, and she was a whole lot worse than Al Sharpton, mind you. Now, the attorneys also pointed out that just after midnight on July the 5th, the mother of a Wansley family friend arrived at Patalo's house with a group of people, most of whom the three young men didn't even know. The group, according to the letter, let themselves into the house without permission, demanding Nolan's cell phone and his whereabouts. Now, Patalo's parents weren't home at the time. Well, why didn't they call the police if they were so bothered? I don't believe it. Now, after 2:24 a.m., July the 5th, Nolan's stepfather, Elmer Wansley, went to Jackson's house seeking Nolan's keys, according to the letter. Wells had stayed there the previous night with a group of about 15 to 20 people and had left his keys on a video game console in Patalo's bedroom, something he didn't know when he searched the home for Wells's keys and couldn't find them. Please dismiss us with it. First of all, you mean to tell me that they were in his room where he sleeps and he had literally just woken up, according to Mr. Elmer Wansley, when he showed up? Remember, he said his hair was all over his head. He looked like he had been sleeping good. So you mean to tell me he's asleep in his room and he didn't see those keys on top of the Xbox console? Okay, please make that make sense because I absolutely don't believe what they're selling. Anyway, according to the account, Wells's dad, Elmer Wansley, was accompanied by a group that refused to leave and demanded answers about Nolan's whereabouts. Patalo and his brother called 911 when the group became disruptive and refused to leave the property. No foul play, they ask. Al Sharpton he also questioned how authorities could initially say they did not suspect foul play, although the family's attorney, Ben Crump, said early on that the parents were frustrated because investigators had not told them whether they believed foul play was involved in their son's death. Now, in later remarks, Crump's story about authorities initially saying there was no foul play changed. Sharpton, however, said early on, how do you know? Okay, how do you know that there was no foul play when you just brought a body out of water? Sharpton said a legal strategy could include depositions of the three friends. What we can do, though, is go through state court and sue and depose those or these young men on what they were doing, he said. He said he would continue to support Wells's family and mobilize people around the country to keep public attention on the case. Sharpton also raised race as a factor at another juncture, saying some members of the Black community believe authorities would have treated the circumstances differently if the races of Wells and his friends had been reversed. Absolutely. We already know that's a given. Now, if there were three black guys and a white kid was missing, they would have held them properly in custody and suddenly had them seriously under scrutiny, in my opinion, he said. Well, that's in all of our opinions. If we have sense, we already know how the judicial system works in their favor and not ours. And of course, we would be held to scrutiny if something like that happened in the reverse. We already know that, and so do they. They need to stop playing games. Sharpton said the Wonsley family did not want to make the case about race, though they were unable to disregard that because Wells's three friends, his three white friends, are alive while Wells is dead after the group spent Independence Day together. Now, he also said he has heard from the parents. He has heard from the parents through his civil rights organization, the National Action Network, who have become concerned about their children spending time with people of other races. So he's heard from different parents, basically, okay, around the country, I imagine. People are just naturally becoming very apprehensive, and we shouldn't have to live like this, Sharpton said. And unless there is a signal sent from the justice system that do some real justice in these cases, they will only intensify people's fear of even having social settings with people of different races for their children. I mean, this is all true, and this is all to be expected. Like we see all of these people swinging from trees as strange fruit, and all of these so-called accidental drownings while people are out with people who don't look like them. And at the end of the day, of course, people are going to be cautious, and everybody should be warning their children. I mean, I don't understand why they think this is crazy. This isn't just about them and the Nolan situation. This is about a reoccurring problem that continues to happen. And in the past few months, it seems to have amped up even more so. Okay, are they blind to the fact or just being delusional? But let's continue. Now, in addition, Sharpton said that Wells's parents at a certain time realized their son was missing and started calling around. And they found that he had not come back with the three friends. And that's where it gets cloudy. Now, in the letters, the attorneys cite text messages and call logs. They say Show Hudson began taking action as soon as he and the friends realized that Wells had not returned from the island. Around 10 p.m. on July the 4th, the friends began calling others and realized Wells still had not returned home. Now, none had heard from him or knew his whereabouts. And at about 11:07 p.m., Hudson called Wells's mother, Christine Wansley, to tell her Wells had not returned with the group. Wansley told Hudson that her son was not home and that she had not heard from him since the evening of July 3rd. Wells had stayed overnight with his friends July the 3rd. Now, Hudson told Wansley that Wells' cell phone had remained with the group on the return trip and was secured in another friend's vehicle. Hudson also told her he was calling the U.S. Coast Guard out of an abundance of caution. He made the call at about 11:13 p.m., July the 4th. According to the attorneys, Hudson remained on the call for more than 20 minutes, providing a description of Wells, what he was wearing, his last known whereabouts when the group left the island, and other information to aid in the search. Now, the attorney said Hudson and Wansley exchanged text messages beginning at 11:15 p.m. The messages were provided to the Sun Herald earlier in the week. And about a minute after ending the Coast Guard call, Hudson called Wansley again to tell her he had spoken with the Coast Guard and provided details about where the group had been on the island and where they last saw Wells. Now, the Coast Guard later called Hudson back for additional information, which he provided. At about 1 a.m., Wansley called Hudson and told him the Jackson County Sheriff's Department would contact him so he could provide additional information to a sheriff's deputy and investigator. Now, among the remarks Sharpton has made since he became vocal about Wells's death, he also invited the attorneys to file civil litigation filed against him over any remarks in the Nolan case. Now, I want them to sue first, he said. I want to depose your Benjamin Hudson's son. Honey, Sharpton was talking all the trash, if y'all remember. He says, if you sue, the plaintiffs are deposed. Let's go to civil court, any kind of court you want to go to, because you can't make this make sense. I hear that. We're happy to grant your wish. This is what the attorneys now say. Okay, so honey, it's about to go down. They're talking about they're going to be suing Al Sharpton. I want to see how this all turns out because if you ask me, they do not have a leg to stand on. Okay, everything that he said is absolutely what people are thinking. Where is the lie? And also, while they're sitting here trying to paint Warren as some sort of hero who went and did his due diligence, calling Christine and calling the Coast Guard, let's not forget that he gave gave her and the Coast Guard and probably the wrong description of what Nolan was wearing. Lying, talking about he had on black shorts. And do you think that was an accident? You've seen him all throughout the day. He left with you all that morning. And so you didn't know what color he was wearing? Like, please miss me with it. Okay, the lies are just insurmountable at this point, and they have told so many lies, so many inconsistencies. I don't see how they think they have a leg to stand on. But hey, there's always wishful thinking. Okay, always wishful thinking. Now, with that all being said, you all drop me a comment to let me know what you think about this whole nefarious situation. And like I said, I do believe that they're just upset because they know the storm is coming. Okay, that storm is Christine Wells Wansley, and she is not playing games. Well, actually, she is. She's playing chess while they're sadly for them playing checkers. Okay, doesn't look like Judge Ashley Cole is going to be able to get them out of this one. Okay, please pay attention. All right. And with that being said, I will see you all at 6:10. And make sure you have those notifications on. Peace.